Bro, please be a little more subtle. Thanks for the terrific view though. There's just something about being able to grind through a completed anime season that's so satisfying. I used to love watching seasonal anime as the episodes released, but now I've kind of pivoted away from that. Don't get me wrong, I like staying up to date with some shows as they release episodes, but being able to watch it in its entirety without being interrupted or having to wait another week for the next episode is far better in my opinion. I don't know why, but sometimes it kills the hype I have for some really entertaining shows. Sometimes I forget about them altogether, or just struggle to even finish those that are airing. That's not the case when the show is finished. I'm able to watch at my own pace that way, and if a show is really good, I can continue grinding through it. Now every season I'll watch maybe 2 or 3 anime as they release episodes, and wait for most other shows to finish. Anyways, as usual I was looking for something to watch, and I saw that the Unwanted Undead adventure finished airing. So I decided to binge it, since it seemed interesting. Before getting into my review, I will say that it is a perfect recommendation if you are looking for a fantasy show with a slice of life vibe to it. In fact, I'd say that this show is actually pretty underrated, ultimately deserving of much more recognition. The Unwanted Undead adventurer follows a bronze-ranked adventurer named Rentt. He's been adventuring for 10 years, mostly solo, and his dream is to become the highest rank mithril. The problem is that he isn't very strong, and it's surprising how weak he actually is. Rentt is able to use spirit energy, mana, and divinity. It's extremely rare to be able to use all 3, yet he never made it past bronze as an adventurer, the second lowest rank. However, what Rentt lacks in skill, he more than makes up for it in knowledge. He can both read and write, which is pretty rare in this setting. He's knowledgeable about plants and animals, knowing how to preserve them. Rentt even knows how to safely traverse different areas, always being alert to any danger that can be present. Within the community, Rentt is a great help to everyone, helping when he can, taking quests others wouldn't, and teaching newbies the ropes. He regularly traverses a specific labyrinth knowing its ins and outs, but one day he notices that a new passageway has been revealed. Instead of informing the guild and being handsomely rewarded because of this knowledge, while also remaining safe, the curiosity and potential this passageway holds takes precedence. He decides to take a risk and explore this new path alone. Rentt, a weaker adventurer who is usually smart, knowing his limitations, probably shouldn't have taken that risk. He ends up finding a dragon and fights it, if you can even call it that. Rentt was paralyzed with fear as he stood absolutely zero chance against the monster as it swallowed him whole. What is weird is that after a period of time after losing the fight, he wakes up, but upon seeing his reflection, notices he has become undead, a skeleton to be specific, with the dragon having disappeared. While being shocked, confused, and saddened by his new situation, he must pull himself together and plan out his next move. Even with death, the grind to become a mithril adventurer does not stop for Rentt. This is where a really unique and interesting concept comes from the Unwanted Undead adventurer. The concept is called existential evolution. Throughout the Unwanted Undead adventurer, Rentt spends his time fighting, getting stronger, and evolving. He evolves from a skeleton to a ghoul, then a ghast, and finally a vampire. And it goes without saying that with each evolution he appears more human-like. Rentt gains power with each evolution, noticing a stark difference between his abilities now and when he was still human. With the help of these evolutions, Rentt's body and combat skill can now keep up with his effort and knowledge, making him ridiculously strong. This evolution process sparks a hope that he can eventually reach mithril rank and possibly even return into being a human. So what is existential evolution? Existential evolution states that monsters in this world can evolve into whatever form they wish to take, with smaller creatures evolving into a form adapted to their environment. They absorb magic from defeated opponents, gaining XP, which helps them to evolve. Humans can do this as well, but are not as efficient as creatures. There are certain requirements that must be met in order for a monster to evolve in this world. Monsters also don't just skip an evolution, it's a logical progression with unknown prerequisites that must be met. The easiest way to explain it if you still don't understand is like evolutions in the Pokemon video games. Pokemon like Charmander must gain enough experience fighting other Pokemon in order to evolve into Charmeleon and then finally Charizard. Charmander can't evolve directly into a Charizard before becoming Charmeleon. That's how Rentt evolves from being a skeleton to a ghoul by slaying monsters in a dungeon. However, that's the limit to his fighting evolution. Certain evolutions require other items. Again, using Pokemon as an example, for something like an Eevee, a specific item is required for its evolution, whether it is a Fire Stone, Water Stone, etc. Similarly, this is how Rentt evolves from a ghoul to a ghast, and finally a vampire. A prerequisite task or item must be obtained. Rentt takes a bite out of his friend and ignored love interest Lorraine to become a ghast, and eventually drinks the blood of a vampire to become one. With each evolution, he becomes more human-like, gaining more organs, and looking more like a human instead of a monster. This is why for the entirety of the first season you see him completely covered up, otherwise he would be attacked by humans on sight because of his monster appearance. It seems like by the end of the anime he can now pass looking like a human. With each evolution, Rentt's power increases, but maintaining his humanity becomes much harder. That's part of what makes the Unwanted Undead adventurer so entertaining. The internal conflict that Rentt must endure, monster urges versus his humanity and kindness that is always showcased. At times, while he was a ghoul and a ghast, he craved human flesh and blood, and I fully expect that struggle to continue now that he's a vampire. He even attacked his friend Lorraine at one point, so control has already been lost once. But luckily for him, she was able to defend herself. What will happen if he loses control again? Will others be harmed? In the back of his mind, there is always the thought that he could turn into something that isn't him. Is Rentt even still Rentt? Much of the story thus far is dedicated to his struggle being a monster. By his appearance and newfound powers, Rentt may look like a monster, but by his actions, he is still Rentt, and this is reinforced through the tasks he takes on throughout the second half of the season. He still takes on several quests to help others, ones that other people would never dare touch. Rentt is still as helpful as ever to new adventurers by showing them the ropes. This shows that his desire to become a mithril adventurer and possibly return to being human is still there. His memories are still there and his motivations have still not wavered. Perhaps that is why he's evolving in the manner that he is. He wants to be a person that can stop tragedies from occurring, taking one step at a time and gathering the power needed to be able to do so. His tragic backstory and motivations came fully into display in the final episode and just added more depth and layers to him, which made Rentt even more enjoyable. It also showcased a different side to him that you usually don't see, since he's always calm, cool, and collected in both his thoughts and actions. His hardworking, never give up mentality makes him likable, and it seems like since his encounter with the dragon, he now has all of the tools needed to reach his full potential. The Unwanted Undead adventurer scratched an itch that I didn't know I had, wanting a solid fantasy show that at times felt like a slice of life show. Despite the fact that this anime includes fighting monsters and despicable human actions, it gave off a relaxing vibe. When Rentt wasn't fighting or exploring labyrinths, most of the time was dedicated to helping others, blending in with civilization, or performing experiments and researching with Lorraine, which was really chill, making this show very enjoyable. The future of the Unwanted Undead adventurer is bright since it showed tons of promise. It has several mysteries that I enjoyed, which all need to be further expanded upon. Mysteries such as the mysterious woman he comes across in episode 5, the true intentions of Latour House, who are most likely vampires, and whatever happened to the dragon in the labyrinth after eating him. Not to mention the reason why labyrinths exist in the first place. Will Rentt existentially evolve back into a human, or will he become an unstoppable monster? I want to see how strong he can truly get. Hopefully some type of romance develops between Rentt and Lorraine, since I enjoyed their dynamic. I really hope that the Unwanted Undead adventure gets another season, since it has great potential and many different questions that need answering going forward. The only minor complaint that I had with the show was that the animation for the fight scenes was a bit underwhelming. No, the animation wasn't awful, it was fine, but I do wish it was better. I give the Unwanted Undead adventure a 7.5 out of 10. Thanks so much for watching, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.